What if the most dangerous killer in your city had no idea he was a killer? What if the man sleeping peacefully in the apartment next door? What's the reason sirens never stopped at night? This isn't just a crime story. It's a story about a mind that fractures, and what escapes when conscience goes dark. You're listening to Mindeticpsy Daniel. Reeves was invisible in the way millions of Americans are invisible. Not homeless, not wealthy, not remarkable. Just another face in the system. 36 years old, divorced, junior IT technician for a regional insurance company in Columbus, Ohio. He lived in a one-bedroom apartment overlooking a parking lot full of identical sedans and flickering streetlights. His life ran on routine: commute, cubicle, microwave dinner, television glow, sleep, repeat. No friends who visited. No neighbors who knew his name. If Daniel disappeared, it would take weeks for anyone to notice. Except something strange was happening at night. Residents in his building complained about footsteps in the hallway. Around 2 or 3 a.m. slow, steady pacing. Sometimes stopping outside doors. Lingering. Then moving on. One woman reported hearing her doorknob turn gently, as if someone testing whether it was locked. Security cameras showed nothing, because whoever walked those halls never triggered them. Daniel started waking up exhausted, not sleepy, drained. His muscles ached like he'd run miles. Bruises appeared along his arms and ribs. Once he woke with a deep cut on his palm, dried blood crusted beneath his nails. He assumed stress, maybe restless sleep. His doctor prescribed stronger sleeping pills. The pills worked. He slept deeper than ever, and the mornings got worse. 2 blocks away, a man was found dead behind a convenience store. Blunt force trauma. Extreme investigators said it looked less like an attack and more like demolition. No weapon recovered. No robbery. Just rage. Applied with terrifying efficiency. Local news called it a random act of violence. Daniel watched the report while eating cereal before work. He felt uneasy but detached, like watching a movie trailer for something he'd never see. Violence belonged to other people's lives, not his quiet, fluorescent-lit existence. Then he noticed a scrape across his knuckles. Fresh, raw, swollen. He stared at his hand for a long time, then rinsed the bowl and left for work without finishing breakfast. Daniel hated confrontation. He avoided it at all costs. But avoidance doesn't erase anger, it buries it. At the office, his supervisor mocked him openly for being slow, forgetful, checked out. Coworkers laughed. Daniel forced a smile, apologized, promised to do better. That night, the supervisor never made it home. His body was discovered in the parking garage beneath the office building, spine crushed against a concrete pillar. Security footage showed him entering the garage alone. Then the cameras glitched for 23 seconds. When the feed returned, he was on the ground. Unmoving. Police found no evidence of anyone else present. Daniel called in sick the next day. He told himself it was shock, but deep down, something else gnawed at him. A sensation like remembering a nightmare just out of reach. Sleep became terrifying. Not because of insomnia, but because of what came after. Daniel began experiencing vivid dreams, where he moved through dark streets with unnatural certainty. He felt powerful, focused. Cold faces appeared, angry, accusatory, hostile, and something inside him responded, not with fear, but with elimination. He would wake, gasping, heart pounding, drenched in sweat. Then he'd turn on the news and see those same faces. The killings escalated. A neighbor who had threatened to file a noise complaint, a rideshare driver who yelled at him over a fare dispute, a stranger who shoved him in line at a pharmacy. Each victim had one thing in common: they had angered Daniel Reeves. Police profilers began suspecting the killer was targeting people connected by minor confrontations, everyday conflicts. Most people forget within minutes, but this killer didn't forget. He erased. Daniel started noticing missing time. Entire evenings vanished. He'd sit down to watch television. Then suddenly, sunlight was pouring through the blinds. His phone would show steps recorded at 3 a.m. Thousands of them, even though he lived alone and had no memory of leaving. One morning, he woke in his bathtub fully clothed, water running cold over his legs. He didn't call anyone. Who would he tell? What would he even say? I think I'm dangerous when I sleep. Doesn't sound rational. It sounds insane. So he did what many people do when reality becomes unbearable. He ignored it. By the time 9 victims were confirmed, Columbus was on edge. Extra patrols, community alerts, late-night businesses closing early, news anchors using words like serial offender and extreme threat. Daniel stopped watching the news, but fear has a way of finding you anyway. One Friday evening, after a brutal week at work, Daniel got into a heated argument with a police officer over a parking ticket outside his building. The officer, already frustrated, told him to stop whining and move the damn car. Daniel's face burned with humiliation as neighbors watched from balconies. He said nothing. He moved the car, He went upstairs, and he didn't sleep for nearly 48 hours, but the human brain always collects its debt. Eventually, exhaustion shut him down like a power failure. He collapsed onto his bed without even turning off the lights. Across town, Officer Marcus Hale ended his shift just after 1 a.m. He remembered the argument vaguely. Another irritated civilian, nothing unusual. He showered, grabbed a beer, and sat down in his living room. At 2:11 a.m., someone knocked on his front door. Not loudly, not urgently, just 3 slow, deliberate taps. When he opened the door, Daniel Reeves was standing there barefoot in the cold. Eyes open but empty like a mannequin programmed to breathe. Officer Hale didn't even have time to speak. Neighbors later reported hearing a heavy thud, then silence. But Officer Hale was trained. Even with his airway collapsing and vision fading, he managed to reach his sidearm. One shot, fired. The bullet tore through Daniel's shoulder, spinning him backward. And in that instant, Daniel woke up, not gradually. Not grog, ILY. Completely. He looked down at his hands. At the officer's broken body, the blood pooling across the hardwood floor. His brain couldn't process it. Reality shattered like glass under pressure. He began screaming high, raw animal sounds that didn't resemble human speech. By the time backup arrived, he was curled in a corner, shaking uncontrollably, repeating, "I didn't do this. I didn't do this." During interrogation, Daniel displayed genuine confusion and horror. He remembered arguing with the officer days earlier, going home, collapsing into bed. Nothing else. Neurological tests revealed severe parasomnia, a rare condition involving complex behaviors during deep sleep. But this was beyond sleepwalking. This was coordinated violence without conscious awareness. Some specialists theorized dissociative rage, suppressed anger stored for years, released only when the conscious mind shut down. Others suspected a malfunction in the brain's impulse control systems, essentially removing the neurological brakes while leaving the motor running. But one incident chilled everyone involved. While in a secure hospital room under constant monitoring, Daniel fell asleep around midnight. At 2:08 a.m., his vital signs spiked. His eyes opened. He sat up slowly, turned toward the door, and smiled. Not confusion, not relief. Recognition, as if something else had just taken control again. Security rushed in before he could stand. He fought with terrifying strength for nearly a minute before collapsing back into unconsciousness. When he woke hours later, he had no memory of it. None at all. Daniel Reeves was declared not guilty by reason of insanity and transferred to a maximum security psychiatric facility. Officially, the nightmare was over. But staff reported unsettling patterns. Every night, at nearly the same time, his door handle would rattle softly from the inside. Motion sensors detected movement even when cameras showed him lying perfectly still. Electronic equipment near his room malfunctioned without explanation. And sometimes, just before dawn, nurses passing his cell heard something through the reinforced glass. Not shouting, not crying. Whispering. Calm, patient, focused, as if whatever lived inside. Daniel Reeves wasn't angry about being contained, only waiting for another chance to walk. So tonight, when you lock your doors and turn off the lights, when your home feels safe because the world outside is quiet, remember this: the most dangerous monsters don't hide under your bed, they lie in it, waiting for you to fall asleep. This is Mindeticpsy exploring the psychology of darkness, because sometimes the scariest place on earth isn't outside, it's inside the human mind.